This type of censorship that is going on with companies that control information, they control the narratives, because a majority of people get their news and information from social media sites. This kind of censorship means one thing. We're going to talk about that today. Welcome to How to Build a Tent. My name is Matt Williams. Thank you for listening to the show, sharing the show with a friend. Appreciate all of you guys. It's the people sharing the show has been phenomenal, and it's really encouraging to me. Go over to the Fight Laugh Feast Network, flfnetwork.com. Put an HTBT in the memo field. Help support us as we proclaim the Lordship of Jesus in every area of life. Partner with us, support us, help us to continue on and to put on more and more great content. Thank you for everyone who has done that. You can email me, Matt, at howtobuildatent.com. Find me on all the social media sites, How to Build a Tent, and especially Parler, where I am not censored. All right, so speaking of censorship, posted a CDC study that surveyed symptomatic COVID-19 patients and found that 70.6% of respondents reported always wearing a mask. So of the people that have COVID and have symptoms, because there's a lot of people that get it and just don't have symptoms at all, 70.6% of those who were symptomatic, I thought I read that backwards for a second, these were asymptomatic, and I had to start this whole show over. No, I'm just kidding. So the CDC said they surveyed symptomatic COVID-19 patients. 70.6% of the respondents always wore a mask. The people that wore a mask in this study, 70.6% of them always wore a mask that had COVID, that had symptoms of COVID, while an additional 14.4% said they often wear a mask. So that's 85% of the people in this study that have COVID symptoms, 85% of them always or mostly always wore a mask, or often is the word used. They often or always wore the mask, 85% of them. Only 3.9% of those infected said they never wear a face covering. They never wear a face covering. All right, I want to go back. I kind of click through this to see. I'm scrolling down my Facebook right now. This study from the CDC, our government, our scientists, our medical professionals, the Center for Disease Control, the people responsible for putting out accurate data. On Facebook, I shared this, and this was deemed false information checked by independent fact checkers. This is scary. This is concerning. And it has implications for us and what we can trust. Because again, the reports are that the polling, the studies, the statistics, a majority of people my age and younger get our news from these sites. And we have these independent fact checkers checking what should be the authority on this virus. Should be the authority. And I have a bunch of questions, but first, before we get to this, the questions and the thinking, this has implications for you. This is relevant for you because if you are somebody who has been getting their news and their information from social media, you need to be aware that you are being controlled and manipulated through that information. You may not believe all the information, but there is going to be information that you don't even see, that you don't even know, and you're missing the story. And one of the most important things that you can do as a business leader, as somebody who starts a business, has a side hustle, or is leading a group within a major organization, a major business, if you're leading a nonprofit, is having as much accurate information as possible and then using wisdom to use and leverage that information. You want to have as much knowledge and information as possible and then use that in a wise way to make business decisions or organizational decisions for your organization, an organization you work for, a nonprofit, in a way that will help you have strategic advantages and achieve the goals and vision for your organization. And what we're seeing here is that independent fact checkers, quote unquote, and Facebook, a big business, is deciding on their own, not making you decide, not letting you decide, but deciding on their own what government officials are saying is true or not. And I honestly do not have a problem with people being skeptical of the government. I'm skeptical of the government. But if I am responsible for delivering the news to a majority of people nowadays in the digital era that we live in, if I'm responsible for that, it is not in good faith, it is not ethical for me to decide for everybody else what they should and shouldn't listen to, what is agreeable information or not. This is a Center for Disease Control study where they are reporting data, and it's being overridden and being canceled, being erased, being labeled as false by independent fact checkers in Facebook. And why is that? Because it goes against what they believe and what they are trying to accomplish. And you better believe that this kind of stuff that is now out in front of us, that is evident, that we can see, that we can hold them accountable or at least recognize the censorship that's happening, you better believe it's happening in more ways than this where we can't see it. You better believe the shadow banning that we've been complaining about for years as conservatives, as Christians on social media is happening. You better believe that there are other things that are happening that have led up to this point where they're so brazen about it that they're able to and willing to censor what is supposed to be the authoritative entity on diseases and say they are wrong. That's where we are at. And even by their worldview, where the government knows best, scientists can't be questioned, they have empirical data. Here they are doing that very thing, casting doubt and going against what they are alleging are perfect people that we cannot question. You can't question the science. You're anti-science. You can't question the majority of scientists that believe. But here we are. And they're able so brazenly to fact check the CDC. This is incredibly troubling for one of what they've been doing to be able to justify it getting to this point. It just doesn't start here, but they've been having a pattern of it, and we're just seeing the evidence of it now. Good old 2020 and Donald Trump bringing the best out of everyone. And so you need to be aware of that, and you need to be able to discern and be able to discover. You have to be your own best, news reporter, where you are going out and discovering and looking for the facts, because what you do see might not be accurate. What you don't see might not be, or might be something that you should have and help you be more successful and help you to make better decisions about. And this is very troubling, guys. Seriously, it is very troubling, and it's very concerning, because who are the people that are deciding when we can agree with the government and when can't we? Who is deciding when data points can be shared and be truthful and be trusted and when can't we? What is the narrative that needs to be established? Who is making up this narrative? Those are the questions that we need to be asking. Those are the questions that we need to have in top of mind as we're reading any kind of news that we find on these social media sites. Because what we have here are big organizations, publicly traded companies. They don't get bigger than these. Google, Facebook, Twitter. And they're controlling the information that is given to us. And they're controlling how we view things. Controlling the information is one step further than controlling the language. It's one step further. And it threatens everything about our way of life. It does. It really does. And I don't know if I'm sounding like conspiratorial, or if I'm sounding crazy, or I'm sounding fatalistic, or I'm not sure exactly how I'm coming off right now. But you should be really concerned. And you should be exploring alternate ways of getting information. You should be finding sites that you can trust. I know, like John Solomon, he's a good reporter. Just the News seems to be pretty accurate. The Bongino Report. Those are kind of some of the places that I go to. I don't just wait for it to come to me, but I go to it because how these news sites and channels come to me is through social media, which I can share a CDC study and it could be censored and not shown and suppressed and shadow banned and all that stuff. So I can't trust the channels even of the trusted sites that I trust. And so I have to go to them. And so I want you guys to be thinking in those terms of not just letting the news come to you, but taking some time out of your day to go find out information, go find out what is the data specifically for your industry and business, specifically for the fields that concern you, specifically for the areas that impact you, politics, economics, those kinds of things, the financial industry, where we are in the stock market. You got to go out and find trusted sites because you cannot trust the channels that are delivering the news to you anymore. If they're willing to fact check CDC, they're willing to fact check anything. If they're willing, now just think about this. Think about all the businesses right now, and specifically in Florida, but just all these businesses right now that may not even believe the mask mandates, may not even or believe the science behind it, or may not even agree with them, but they're forcing you to do it. They're forcing the 6 feet distancing, wherever that number came from. They're forcing you to wear a mask. A majority of these companies are enforcing these policies and making you do it and turning away turning away customers, turning away money, which, you know, if you turn away business, it's not really a good business model to have, but they're doing it so that they won't get sued. They're doing it so that they're mitigating risk, because if they go along with the compliance of the day, if they go along with the regulations of the day, then they can say that we did our best and we acted in good faith and we did as much as we could to prevent people from getting this disease or any other disease. And so they won't get sued, or they'll have a better chance of winning in court. And so that's why they're doing this. Facebook is doing the opposite. They're suppressing health news, health studies, the authority on this disease. They're censoring it. They're doing the opposite. Do you not think that they can get sued for this stuff? Now, I know that they have this publisher protection, but that's being threatened right now. That's getting taken away, especially if Trump wins again. And don't you think that they won't be able and to be put on the hook for their negligence? It's worse than negligence. It's their, it's not antitrust, and it is it's breaking the trust of the people, of its customers. I know it's not in the antitrust, typical laws of the colluding and all that stuff with other companies, but they're willfully deceiving us. That is negligence. And that is a liability for them. And they're willing to take it. They're willing to take it for their narrative. I just want you guys to be aware of it. I don't want you to fall for it. I don't want you to even and just not knowing it and being unaware and realizing that you're missing important data that is applicable to your life because you're not actively going out and seeking it. We have to actively go out and seek our information. I will talk to you tomorrow.